Hey, what's up to everybody out there? Welcome to another edition of the Round Table Talk. I am your host, C Money, and I'm back here at the Motel X. Earlier, I did a video showcasing one of the spots here, which is Motel X, and I know as you can see, there is an eye on the wall because that is a painting or a mural, whatever you want to call it, on the wall. But here is not what I want to do. There are several topics I want to discuss, and I know y'all already are discussing it. I've seen it all around down in Miami. I've seen it downtown Miami. It's a lot of stuff. It is a lot going on. There are several topics I want to discuss. Something, and they're all political. Something on the government's, United States level, and something on the local level, and state level. First off, let's get right into it. Donald Trump and Elon Musk. Oh, excuse me. By the way, if you do hear the background, that is the TV. I did in a video earlier that there isn't a remote control, so I cannot mute the TV. So you will be hearing the TV in the background of this. Now, let's get back to it. Donald Trump and Elon Musk. As you know, there is a protest. There was a protest here in downtown Miami a few days ago. Protesting against Donald Trump and Elon Musk. Remember I did a video a while back about the ICE program where Donald Trump is deporting all immigrants and stuff like that. And now he is setting to overtax on products that are made overseas in different countries to make business and corporations move their business to America to create jobs and to create, their products to be made in America. And as Elon Musk, he is pushing to defund funding for PBS, which is Sesame Street and stuff like that. So there are a lot of things that is going on. Now, what Trump is doing is basically, some people say they get it, some people say they don't get it. I'm gonna say that I do like it, I don't like it. I'm not gonna say that I'm agreeing with Trump because I don't like nothing he's doing. But at the same time, yeah, I agree there should be more jobs created in America, because the unemployment rate that I last checked was at 4.2%. And it's like the unemployment rate is at high, for a lot of people. There's jobs. It's hard to find jobs. It's hard to do a lot of things. I agree with that. But the way you're going at it, you can't create jobs by overtaxing products coming from overseas. You have vegetables, fruits, meats, and all this other stuff. You have cars and auto parts that comes from overseas. Now you're taxing people and taxing, companies that, but like how, for instance, a auto parts store. They may have to get a certain part for a certain car, and they can only get it overseas in another country. So now, instead of paying $200, they might have to pay $400 to get that part. And now it's going to not only, you know, push overcharging for the person that's buying the thing, but they're also gonna boost push up their prices for you. Because let's say they have to pay $200 to get the part. They're gonna probably charge you $300 to $400, and that's to pay for the part and also for the services. Now, if they're paying $400 for the part, which is $200 more, imagine you're going to be paying at least $500 to $600 for not only just the part but for services alone. So in reality, it's hurting everybody's pockets. Just like I was saying with the ISIS situation, where they were saying that deporting all the immigrants, it is hurting people. It's going to hurt America's pockets, and you're going to feel it at the dinner table. Yeah, because you're going into these restaurants and these grocery stores and these businesses, and you're taking people out of these businesses. Let's say you have a business of 20 people, and 10 of them are immigrants from other countries, whether they're legal, illegal, whatever the case may be. And ISIS come and take all 10 of the immigrants. Now you only left with 10 employees. What's that going to do for you? You're going to have to overwork your 10 employees. It's going to be where a lot of your service is going to have to be cut because of that. And there's going to be different changes, and people are not going to like it. Just like with the food cost. Now the food cost is going up because not a lot of our products and produce and a lot of our food products, but some of our food products come from overseas, and now you're going to be taxing you know everything. So now instead of paying $5 for ground beef, you're probably gonna be paying $10 to $15 for ground beef. And I'm like, dude, even though a lot of our food products are being produced here in America, but you do have certain products that we eat and certain products. You have strawberries and vegetables and stuff like that that come from different areas. Bananas and stuff. You have a lot of these products that come from other countries. Now you're going to be taxing these companies, a lot of money to for producing for bringing their services over here. And then what's going to happen? A lot of these companies are going to say, I'm not going to do business no more in United States because now I got to pay 2 times more, or what I'm saying, I got to do charge a lot. A lot of these people are going to say, oh, I'm not going to do business overseas, because now I'm going to have to pay 2 times more the price to get. And then you can only get your products from overseas. And then a lot of these companies, they're overseas, they're going to say, well, I'm not going to deal with the United States because now a lot of these businesses that uses my services are dropping because they don't want to pay these taxes that Trump is forcing on us because they want us to move to America. So now I'm not going to do business with America. So now a lot of these businesses going to say, excuse my language, they're going to say fuck America because I'm not finna, my customers are finna pay a high price tax on products that come from me. And now they ain't gonna want to do business with me because they're charging taxes. We gotta pay taxes and all that stuff on products from our company to ship to America for people to use. And then a lot of these people who get these products, they're gonna have to up their prices now because if you're paying, let's say let's say you get milk from overseas and a company is paying $1.25 per jug, and you have to pay $3 in the store. Now they might have to pay $2 a jug, and then they're gonna make you pay $5 a jug. So you see how it is impacting us to the fact that we're going to be feeling the effect of all of these taxing projects because you want all of these companies to move to America. You have to realize there are 1 billion companies in the world. All of these companies is not going to move to the United States. You know what they're going to do? They're going to find a better common way of dealing. Oh, we don't just have to deal with people in America. We're China. We can, outsource our products to Russia or to India, to all these other countries. Well, we don't have to worry because regardless if we, outsource our products to the United States and sell our products to the United States, we're still going to have money regardless if we don't sell our products in the United States. We're still going to have money because we do have other countries that buy our products. Like a lot of these antiques and stuff that say made in China. Now, how many people are going to be buying their antiques that's made in China and stuff like that? Not too many people because they don't want to pay. They was paying $5 and $10 and $20 for antiques. Now they're paying $30 and $40 and $50 for an antique that only costs you pennies at the market. So now they're like, fuck it, I'm not finna be doing that. So I'm looking at it as if, what are you doing and what are you trying to do to get us back on track? If you're not making America great again, you're making America worse again because now food prices are going to go up, clothes is going to go up because a lot of these clothes are made from other countries. They have factories and, they have these people that sit in these factories every day, stitch by stitch, making these clothes and they sell them into the U.S. Now, a lot of these companies are not going to want to buy their clothes from other factories, and it's going to tear and rip us apart because now we're not going to have, clothes in the stores. And even if we do, they're going to be upping up the price because if they have to up their price on buying the clothes, best believe they're going to up the price for the customers on buying the clothes. You can buy a shirt that was $5.99, a nice good shirt like this shirt. This shirt I got from City Trends, it was probably $5-$6.99. Now if I go get it inside the store, it's probably going to be not $8 or $9.99. It's going to be probably $10, $5 more because now you're upping up tax prices for the companies, and they're going to say, no, we're not going to, pay these taxes, or we're not going to, up the prices, for y'all doing that. And that's one thing. And then now we have the Elon Musk situation where he's trying to defund programming to PBS. Now, I had this conversation with a coworker, and the coworker said I agree with that because there should be other ways of funding PBS because the government shouldn't have to fund PBS. I'm going to say yes and I'm going to say no. And I'm going to say that. I'm going to say it because we all know what PBS is, Public Broadcasting Services, which is, television where they have, shows like Sesame Street, Barney and Friends, there's the Magic School Bus, Arthur, TV shows we grew up on, Reading Rainbow, Mr. Rogers' Neighborhood. Now they have new shows that are coming out. And the government funds PBS. Not only the government, but contributions from members of the PBS network, meaning that people who have memberships with PBS, whether they give $10, $20, $100, $1,000, they make contribution. Now, for me, I feel contributions alone is not going to keep public broadcasting, which is PBS, afloat. Because if you cut funding from the government, you know how many people like myself that watches PBS and don't contribute? Because not all of us have money to contribute. That's just like saying when you have these little, organizations and you have these, fundraisers and stuff to raise money for these charities and stuff like that. Not everybody can say, oh, I'm going to give to the American Heart Association. I'm going to give to this charity. I'm going to give to the Hunger for Feeding or Meals on Wheels and stuff like that, because we agree that these charities are good and they should, there should be more people donating. But as an American who watches their wallet, like myself and other people, we don't have millions of dollars. We don't have Oprah Winfrey or Steve Harvey money, or we don't have Bill Gates or, celebrity money or Fortune 500 company business money. We can't sit up here and say, oh, I can give $1,000 to this program. No. There are people out there that are willing to give that money and have the money to give. But as common folks, we have everyday things we have to worry about: bills, groceries, transportation. If you got kids, you got a lot of these things to worry about. You have everyday living. Yeah, I could probably give $1 or $5, but I can't give $100, $200, $300, $400, $500, thousands of dollars to a charity. And the government funded PBS. Remember back when Obama was running for the second term and Mitt Romney was a candidate for the presidency and the Republican seat, and he too wanted to defund PBS, and it was a big whole thing about that. We all know that was one of the reasons why Obama won again, because number one, Mitt Romney wanted to keep the war going for another 100 years, meaning he wanted to continue this war. And then number two, you're cutting funding to a lot of kids' television programming. Yes, there are cartoons out there that kids like to watch. You have the Cartoon Network, you have Nickelodeon, you have the Disney Channel, but PBS gives you real educational shows. Yeah, you have Teen Titans, and you had the Powerpuff Girls, you got SpongeBob, you got a lot of these shows. I don't know a lot of them, but you got a lot of these children's shows and these children cartoons and stuff like that. But where is the educational in them? Sesame Street teach you about ABCs. They teach you about 1, 2, 3s. They teach you about rhyming. They teach you about, words. The same thing with Barney and Friends. Let your imagination ride. Just the same thing with Arthur and the Magic School Bus and Mr. Rogers' Neighborhood. Reading Rainbow was a show about reading. Getting you into the thing of reading books and stuff like that. If you cut programs like this, how is the kids going to learn? They can't learn by turning into the Powerpuff Girls, where you see 3 little girls beating up on Mojo Jojo or whoever out there. They're not going to learn by you having Go Teen Titans and they up there trying to save the world. Yes, it may be something interesting, but it's not educational. You're not teaching them 1 + 1 or 2 + 2 or math or science or, history. You're teaching them, oh, he's going to take over the world. Let's kill him and destroy him before he takes over the world. The same thing like these animes, like with Yu-Gi-Oh and the Cell games, which was the Dragon Ball Z and all of this other stuff. Those are fighting things. Just like, one of my all-time favorite cartoons was Chip and Dale Rescue Rangers. You had two little um, squirrels that was out there trying to save the world, and just like one of my other favorite shows, the Power Rangers. You and He-Man and She-Ra. Yeah, they was nice cartoons, but they was cartoons about saving the world. They wasn't educational. They wasn't teaching you how to do 1+1 or 2 times 2. They was teaching you how, let's fight this man before he takes over the universe or takes over the world or takes over the city or destroys us or and stuff like that. And for you to defund these programs that teaches our kids from right to wrong, because most of our kids, all they have is TV. You have kids out here that don't have computers, that don't have access to the internet, so their only resources is they have to go to the library and get on the computer to, do research on stuff. Or if they have to watch TV, I'd rather for a kid, if I had a kid, I'd rather for them to watch educational programming shows than to watch something where somebody fighting with each other, or somebody shooting or somebody killing somebody. I'd rather for them to watch something that's going to uplift them and motivate them and give them more education than it would like, you shooting somebody with a gun like Elmer Fudd. Elmer Fudd, Looney Tunes was a great cartoon company and era. But it's bad. You had a coyote chasing after a bird to eat it. You had a human being with a rifle, which is Elmer Fudd, chasing after a rabbit so he can probably cook it and eat it. You had a squirrel that was in love with another squirrel and trying to lust after the squirrel and make love. I mean, yeah, they're nice cartoons, but every now and then we want to slip in some education. And by you trying to get rid of education, come on, bro. You can't get rid of these public. We grew up on Sesame Street. We grew up. I understand what you're trying to do. You want, you think that funding should go to something useful if that's what you're trying to do. But at the same time, how are these kids are going to survive? Now Sesame Street's going to have to limit their shows. They're going to have to cut some corners where, a lot of the cast members have to be fired. That's just like when you say you're not, a business is hurting and they ain't got no money. What they have to do, just like Kmart. Look at Kmart. Kmart has been reduced to a small size store because they can't compete. They have to let all of their workers go. Now a lot of these workers have to either do one thing. You either go work for Amazon or you go work for Walmart, because those are the two big competing shopping markets now. Amazon and fucking Walmart. And now it's like you was working at a store that everybody loved as a kid. Now it was reduced down to a small little cubicle box of a store, which is here in Miami. And now it's the same thing with this. Where are the kids going to go for education? You got these educational shows, you got these things now. Where are the kids going to go? And it's like now you want to take away a lot of these programming to where it is not going to be cute, Barney, Barney is a dinosaur with more than imagination, and when he causes what we cause a dinosaur sensation, ABCs and 1, 2, 3s, and and stuff like that. Reading Rainbow, take a look. It's in a book. It's Reading Rainbow. I wasn't a fan of Reading Rainbow, but it was an educational show because it gave you to do reading. But you want to defund these programs because you don't feel the money should be going there. Where should the money go to? You trying to get rid of funding for education. You're trying to get rid of a lot of this stuff, but I don't get it. Just like with Trump and this high-tech thing, what are you doing for us to sit up here and say, I get you're trying to make companies come overseas. I don't know if I ever told you a company that my mom used to work for, and I think I said it back in one of my other episodes. My mom used to work for a company that made hospital parts for hospitals, and they was stationed out in Miami Lakes, which is down here in Miami. Oh, excuse me. And it's a town of Miami Lakes, and they were stationed out here. Now they had several buildings here. The company eventually, around the time my mom started, getting sick, and her health started deteriorating, and she ended up retiring. The company was planning on moving their business to Mexico, And yes, they still have a building here. There's one building here that still stands in here in Miami Lakes in South Florida. But majority of the company has moved to Mexico. So a lot of the people had well no choice but to do what? Either you move with the company, or you try to see if you can stay on with that one building, or you find employment somewhere else. And that's what Trump wants you to do. Trump wants it to where he wants to bring businesses into the United States so they can start producing their products here in the United States. And you can realize that a lot of this stuff cannot be produced, well, will not be produced. You see a lot of these cars are foreigner cars that are made in foreign countries. And not only that, there are places where if the cars are made in foreign companies, when a car gets into an accident or your car needs to be fixed, most of the car parts you will have to get from these foreign companies. You can't say that you buy a car from Toyota, that you bought a car from Toyota, because we know Toyota is Tokyo and all that stuff and all that. Not saying it is, but a lot of these foreign cars, they're in there. And then when you get it fixed and they say, oh no, they don't sell this part in America, I have to get it from overseas. Now you're gonna have to pay more for this car coming from overseas, because now Trump wants to tax all these products and stuff, so the business can say, hey, let's just stop doing this and move our business to America. That's not going to stop these companies from moving to America. What's going to happen is they're going to start saying we can outsource our business somewhere else. That's just like saying you was loyal to employees or customers a long time, and then things started happening with the customers where they started demanding lower prices or something like that. They're going to say, we don't care. We can go somewhere else where the people are going to appreciate our services. The people are going to appreciate our money. Y'all want cheaper prices. Y'all want this and that. No, we're going to close our, we're going to just outsource our products somewhere else where people would appreciate the prices we have. People love paying $5 for this and $5 for that. Y'all want to pay $2 and $3 for it. No, we're going to go somewhere where people appreciate $5, and things like that. And that's what these things, that's what, we're facing now. It's just that a lot of this stuff is coming to where, like I say, in another 20, 30 years, man, burgers is gonna be $10 a burger. Remember back in the 1990s when you used to have $1 burgers and combos used to be $2.99 at McDonald's and Burger King. For a Whopper, it was $2.99 for a combo, and that was just a regular combo. Now for a Whopper combo, you paying damn near $7 to $8 just for the combo. And I went to Wendy's the other day and I bought a Asiago Ranch chicken sandwich combo, and I ended up to where, excuse the noise outside, because we're near a train system and also a busy street. But and I paid like $12 for the combo. I'm not like, wow. Just earlier, I don't know if you seen the video earlier, I was inside of a Burger King, and I ended up paying. Basically, I ended up paying I paid like $16 because I had extra food. But it was like close to $10 just for the meal. And I'm like, for the meal. Back in the day, we used to get $2.99 meals and stuff like that, $3.99 meals, we used to get $5 platters and stuff. Now, all these meals are ridiculous. I ended up going to Poochie's Pizza. I did a review on Poochie's Pizza. Go check out my food review, South Florida, on Poochie's Pizza. I did a review on them. I went there the other day, after work one day, and it cost me almost $40 just to buy the same stuff I buy all the time, which is the chicken Alfredo pasta and a calzone. And that's because I also add the sausage and the meats to the calzone, and it cost me almost $40 just for 2 items. And I'm like, dang. And a lot of these places you're going to be paying a lot, because back then, a calzone probably cost you $8, $9 a calzone. Now it's costing you $10, $15 for a calzone, and that's not including the meats. That's just the calzone alone. It's costing you like at Poochie's, it's $2 a meat, meaning you're adding $2 for sausage, $2 for bacon, $2 for meatball, $2 for pepperoni, $2 for this, $2 for each additional toppings is $2. And I'm like, this is what we have gone to. And in another 10, 15 years, the prices are going to go up again. A plate of food. I last night I had the pleasure of hanging out with my coworkers, and we ended up going to Chili's. Chili's, they used to have that 2 for $25, which they don't have anymore. Now they have the 3 for $10. And 3 for $10 is not even 3 for $10 no more, because it starts at $10. Because you get a drink and an appetizer and an entree. And I end up having the Cajun shrimp Alfredo, Cajun shrimp pasta. and that wasn't $10. It was $16.99. It's not $10 like how it used to be 10 years ago. So I'm like, a lot of these things are changing because the times are changing, and now you want to up the prices on taxes so you can get a lot of these companies to move their businesses to the United States, which I don't think is going to happen. You know, and a lot of these people are getting upset because now prices are going to go up on food, prices are going to go up on clothing, shoe prices. Because, a lot of these shoes, they're made overseas, Nikes and all this, they're made in other countries and they get shipped over here. Now you're going to up the prices on products that are being shipped over here. And a lot of these businesses and people are saying, hey, y'all costing us money, you know. This is a lot of money, even though y'all are paying for our services. But a lot of these people are going to be feeling the effects that they don't want to pay $300 when Jordans used to be only $200. Now they got to pay an additional $100 just to get some Jordans. That no, and they don't see that. I want to know how y'all feel about what's going on with Donald Trump and Elon Musk. Do y'all think what they're doing is good? Do you think it's okay? Do you think it's not okay? Because at the end of the day, I want to know how y'all feel about this situation, because it is really going crazy that we have to sit here at this modern day and time and think that we are okay with this situation. And I'm not, because now prices are going up. You're trying to take away Medicaid, you're trying to take away food stamps, you're trying to take away services that people get that is keeping them afloat. A lot of these people can't afford food, so they get food stamps. They have kids, they have children. You're sitting up here trying to take food out of people's mouths by trying to tax all these services and products that we're getting from overseas, to where a lot of people can't afford, what they used to get $1 burger, now it's going to be $5 burgers, and they can't afford that. There was people, I've been down that road where I didn't know where my next meal was coming from, and I had to go and buy $1 burgers to survive and eat and stuff like that. But I've been down that road where I didn't make enough money to pay my bills, and I had to try to rob Peter to pay Paul. Not saying that I was scheming, but saying that I had to budget, pay a little bit on this, pay a little bit on that, try to keep my bills afloat and stuff like that, to the point everybody's been down that road. Nobody's been, not everybody was born with a silver spoon in their mouth. But now you're trying to bring us back into the 1920s with the Great Depression, where now it is going to be hard for a lot of these families and people to afloat again, because now you're got to tax more products to where it's going to be hard for us to do anything. It's going to be hard for us to survive, And a lot of these people, that's why when I was on my way to work a couple of days ago, I told you they was protesting in front of Bayside in downtown Miami. And it was, a lot of them was protesting against Donald Trump and Elon Musk, because now you're taking the fabric of our life and you're taking it away from us. You're trying to defund PBS and all these children television programming, and you're trying to tax these products that are coming from overseas, to where now it's going to be harder for people to eat and to buy clothes and to survive and to live, because a lot of these clothes that we get are made in underground factories overseas. You have these children and these adults that are in these factories doing stitch by stitch, and a lot of these shirts that are made are coming from other countries, to where now it's going to be hard for you to, there's very little factories in America that products come from. But yeah, we do have these farms and stuff in Florida where they made from fresh strawberries and oranges and fruits and stuff like that. But you do have products that come from overseas that is special, and a lot of people buy them because they're more there's something different from them. Like if you buy fruit from another country, it might be better than the fruit you buy here, because they're more of an authentic in other countries. And now you're going to tax them all of this money because you want them to start producing their products over here. No, you can't do that. And that's how I feel. But I want to know how y'all feel about this. Do you think what Elon Musk and Donald Trump is doing is good? Do you think it is bad? Do you think that you agree with it or you disagree with it? Email me, roundtable00@yahoo.com. You can also comment at the bottom of this page. Don't forget to check out my other videos as well. Hot spots in South Florida, food reviews South Florida, history South Florida, traveling with the Round Table Talk. But let me know how you feel about this, because this is a topic that I know everybody is discussing at the table, or when you see the news, everybody's discussing it right now. So let me know how you feel about it. I thank you for watching this, and always stay blessed, stay hydrated, stay safe, and just stay living, because we are living in times now where everything is falling apart. Everything. But this is the Round Table Talk. I am your host, C Money. Thank you for watching. I will see you in the next episode. Take care.